Welcome in to another edition of the Old North State Sports Show. Folks, we are here today to discuss Ejiro Evero and his job security or lack thereof in 2025 and really ask the question, can Ejiro Evero turn this thing around? I had to do some research just looking back and understanding who Ejiro Evero was with the Denver Broncos. You see a pretty successful defense there. You see a okay defense in 2023 with some key metrics that were in favor for the Panthers. And then this past season, I mean, there's really not too much to say about how bad the defense was. And where do you want to pin the fault? Him, play calling, scheme, players, personnel, injuries, any of it. Doesn't really matter. This is a big year for Ejiro Evero to figure it out. It's time to break it down, folks. So I think you go back and look at his experience as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Again, started in 2022 with the Denver Broncos, transitions over to Carolina. I mean, very positive and well received in the industry. Getting head coaching interviews, not this past cycle, but the last two cycles before this. Had a stint with the Los Angeles Rams as a pass game coordinator, secondary coach, and safeties coach. Notable achievements in his career as well. Go back to the Super Bowl team with the Rams in 2021. His success came in other roles outside of, being a defensive coordinator. So despite the struggles in 2024 or the 2024 season, Dave Canales made a decision to bring Ejiro Evero back. And I think a lot of fans, including myself, were not a fan of this decision. It just doesn't make sense. No matter where you want to pin the problems of the Carolina Panthers, I just don't, you can't make a solid case to me personally to make a decision to bring back Ejiro Evero. Yes, I understand the gaps between a practice squad player and a starter, and that's what the Panthers were rolling with for most of the year, and injuries. But to a certain extent, you got to be able to coach what you have. You have to make do with what you got, and you can't look as bad as you do. So I went back and I was like, well, how was Ejiro Evero in 2022 with the Denver Broncos? So in his first season as a defensive coordinator for the Broncos, Evero oversaw a unit that demonstrated, let's be real, considerable strengths in quite a few areas. So the Broncos defense ranked 7th in the NFL in total defense, allowing an average of 320 yards per game. Performance against the run, much better than what we saw here in Carolina. 10th in the league. Particular highlight of their effectiveness was on third down, where they held opponents to a conversion rate of 34.1%, which was second best in the NFL. Third down efficiency, stopping the run, overall, very solid scheme. They were also kind of fringe in some other key categories. Rushing yards per carry, 11th. Pass defense, 12th. Takeaways, 14th. Middle of the pack, much better than those 29 to 30 to 31 to 32 metrics that the Carolina Panthers had. Evero's defense, when he was with the Denver Broncos, allowed the 8th fewest total yards, the 19th fewest offensive plays, and the 13th fewest first downs, contributing to the third lowest yards per play allowed in the league. So fantastic production there. Defensive pass game also 13th fewest in passing yards, 5th fewest in passing attempts, allowing the 10th most interceptions, recording the 10th most, Despite the Broncos' overall disappointing season, defense was cited as a positive aspect of this team. We know it's a modified version of Vic Fangio and what Fangio's defense is able to do. Some analysis pointed out the defense occasionally became overwhelmed, likely due to the offense's inability to sustain drives. So you go back to what Bryce Young and co. had in 23, not being able to stay on the field. You're going to put your defense in bad situations. They allowed just 21 points per game, 14th in scoring defense. It indicated a strong unit. Let's be real. Unfortunately, the Broncos themselves kind of crumbled. Now it's part of the reason that they landed in the situation that they are. And Ejiro came down to Carolina. You go back to Ejiro's first year here in 2023, there were some positives, and we tried to latch onto those as much as we could this past year and say, like, hey, there's hope. Defense allowed 293 yards per game, which was fourth and fewest in the NFL. Top 5 defense in yards allowed. We talked about that so much. Pass defense was a strength. Set a franchise record for only allowing 171 passing yards per game. That was the third lowest mark in the league. That was something people forget about. Bryce Young wasn't throwing for a ton, but the defense also wasn't allowing a ton as well. And the run game also wasn't giving up as much as they were. Conceded the 8th fewest first downs and fewest total air yards, yak yards in the NFL. Further examination of the pass defense revealed they allowed the 3rd fewest passing yards and the 12th lowest completion percentage against them, 6th lowest pass yards per attempt, 3rd fewest pass yards per attempt, 4th fewest passing touchdowns, and 3rd fewest passing first downs. Run defense wasn't nearly as bad. 10th most rushing yards allowed, although not great. Rushing touchdowns in the league. 14th in yards per carry. Had an inability to generate pressure. And that's been 2 years in a row. Again, this was in 23. 27 sacks, 11 takeaways, ranking last in both categories. Third down efficiency was probably one of the other strengths, 7th in the league with a conversion rate of 36%. Despite the Panthers' overall poor performance, some did feel Evero was a bright spot, which is part of the reason that he was getting interviews last year. It didn't pan out. He did maintain really good relationship with the players. That's something that the guys had talked about with him coming back and the benefit of having him back. People do question the 3-4 scheme. Is it, time to move on, to switch? Is that not working? I mean, then you go to 2024 and do we really want to sit here? Most points allowed in a single season, 534. I mean, just completely changed where they were in 23 to 24. And we've spent so much time talking about what could have been. Passing yards allowed per attempt dropped to 31st. The defense became more penalized from the 4th least to the 8th most penalized defense. We saw that a lot. Opponents found it significantly easy to score on the Panthers, converting on 51.4% of their drives. And it doesn't get good. We know about the injuries. Derrick Brown, Shaq Thompson, DJ Wonham having a slow start. But overall, run defense was extremely terrible. He's faced adversity in numerous situations. He's had an opportunity, though, in my opinion, to figure it out, to get the ship headed in the right direction. So I guess if you are a Panthers fan and you sit here and wonder, why should I have any faith that this thing is going to be close to decent, I think we should break it down. Several factors, as I wrote this, that the Carolina defense under Evero, reasons why they could see success. So one key element is the continuity in the coaching staff. Now, there have been changes on the defensive side of the ball, but in general, having stability. I don't know how much that plays into part. I don't know how much, honestly, maybe we look at it as a positive with the changes in the coaching staff that can make this better, or at least hopefully better than what it was. I always use the analogy when we're breaking down coaching changes and hires, and I always say, well, it can't be that big of an impact. But then I think about the offensive line for the Panthers and the changes they had in the coaching staff from 23 to 24 and the big improvements that we saw. So yes, I do think it's a possibility that we could see some differences there. You talk about the return of Derrick Brown. That can't be overstated. A healthy J.C. Horn. I think really the improvement itself is going to lie on the health of who's on the roster and some of the additional depth that they brought in through free agency. We talked about Trayvon, safety from the Raiders, big contract. Patrick Jones, the second, a pass rusher. Defensive front with Tershawn Wharton, Turk, and Bobby Brown III. And the additional linebacker, Christian Roseboom, who I personally have not talked about a ton. And you also have, of course, Mike Jackson. So I think all those things on paper should give you a better football team. And then you look forward to the draft with the potential to get at least one or two other potential starters. We haven't really talked about Damani Richardson, but there is a path where maybe he could eventually kind of leapfrog up into a true starter. But whether you go with a Jalen Walker, you bring in a safety, a linebacker, a cornerback, I do think the Panthers could get another at least starter or rotational piece, which is all that we can ask for. So heading into 25, I don't have a ton of expectations, but I do think we're going to get closer to the norm of who Ejiro Evero is as a coach. I'd love to see the drop in points allowed, 29th and 32nd and 23 and 24. Let's get it back to middle of the pack around 14th. Give us a chance. Give the offense a chance to win some football games. And I think that's all you can ask for if you are a Panthers fan. But I'd like to know what you guys think about the state of Ejiro Evero heading into 2025 in the season. As always, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.